Pearl Taylor.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's really great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you're here because you are another professional arts therapist.
I am fully registered with Anzacata. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Can you tell us where you're working at the moment?
Yeah. At the moment, I'm case management at Uniting, and I am essentially in a social work position, um, traditionally filled by a social worker, and I'm doing all the social justice work that a social worker would do, but bringing also my art therapy education background that I have previously studied.
Okay, so you used to work in schools as a teacher?
Yeah, so in New South Wales, my undergraduate, I was a visual arts teacher, and I used to work in quite a lot of high schools in full-time capacity and then moving into casual relief teaching. And that was a really, really rewarding experience. And I worked in both mainstream and special developmental schools across New South Wales. Um, One of the reasons that I actually decided to leave teaching was to become an art therapist because I really saw that gap in the system. And I just had lunch times of the kids flocking to my classroom. And I thought, oh, there's something in this. Maybe I should go and get a master's degree. So I moved to Melbourne and started that journey at La Trobe.
Wow, so it was actually the children themselves who inspired you to become an art
Oh,
therapist.
of course. You know, I went straight from high school into art teaching because I knew what it was for me to have an art practice. Um, and I think that it was in actual art teaching that I went, oh, the teaching part, that's great. But I think that there's this thing called art therapy. And I think that's actually a bit more interesting to what I want to bring to the kids. And I think that's what I saw they were getting out of it as well, the mental health and the well-being benefits of connecting with the arts.
How wonderful.
Mm.
And you're also an NDIS art therapist, I believe.
I am. So I do work with a variety of clients as well. At the moment on Zoom, which is quite interesting. But previously in my art studio, I'm seeing a variety of clients in my studio.
Yeah, okay. So you already described the mental health and well-being benefits that you could observe with the children in the school when they were coming to the art room at lunchtime. And can you tell us about some of the ways that you bring your arts therapy practice into your role at Uniting?
Mm-hmm. So it is interesting to transfer those skills of an art therapist into case management and into the social work field. I think that one of the biggest skills that I do transfer is a sense of deep listening that comes with training, comes with the art therapist training, and it forms a sense of embodiment that allows people to feel really, really heard. But I think that on that chain of thought as well, that there's small things like um, when I'm doing, say, a family tree with a family, sorry, I'm able to bring maybe colours and objects, things in for people to create symbols and signs that don't relate just to me and this person, but me and my feelings, me and my well-being in relation to this person. So I'm able to expand that narrative a lot more than just the verbal, because there's so much more going on than just the words that we ascribe to things.
What a wonderful description. Yeah, thank you. And so did you have anything to add about, maybe the way that the people you work with have told you, how they're benefiting from your art therapy approach?
Well, I think that on one hand, I know that my team really, really appreciate me in this space. I know that I bring a lot of variety of perspective, both in sense of what I bring to the clients, but also what I bring to the whole team's well-being, because we can all engage in creative wellbeing activities together. In terms of my clients, I do get a lot of feedback that they enjoy the sense of sensory modulation that art therapy allows. So maybe if I'm feeling that, you know, we've been talking for an hour and it's just getting very overwhelming, we're talking about some really heavy topics, I might slowly transition that into kind of more of a playful space and get that client into their bodies, just as a mindfulness, or like kind of just a break. And I think that that's one thing that I've heard so much, is that it's like a respite for some of the really heavy systemic things that are happening, and that we hold both of those things in balance.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I'm glad that the people you work with tell you that they appreciate
it. Yeah, it is. It's really nice. And I think that because we work for a year with families, we do develop a longevity to connection and relationship. So they do feel comfortable with telling us what works, what's not working. I like when you do this, you know, don't call me 5 times a day. It's not going to work. So it is nice, and it is that relational relational rapport that is built.
Okay, that highlights something really important that I think is so crucial in public understanding of art therapy as a profession, that while, you know, we know that the arts themselves are very powerful, you know, for supporting and promoting health and well-being, that in art therapy, engagement in the arts occurs within this relationship of safety and trust and respect. Yeah.
Completely. I think I actually had an experience just the other day where I was actually moved to tears in relation to one of my clients, because I felt that there was that sense of relationship building. But the reason that I was actually moved to tears is that she reminded me a lot of the young people that I remembered meeting in schools. Just the consistency of showing up, of having somewhere to show up, and having someone to say, like, oh, listen, you matter. And that they might not even act like they want to be there, or they might not even be able to show that they care about what they're doing, but they consistently show up, and you consistently show up, and form that relational impact for them that really stays with someone.
Yeah, marvellous. Thank you. So my final question, Pearl, although I could quite happily talk to you for an hour.
Me too.
The final question is, why is this particular petition so important?
I think that, well, you have seen how important this is to me, this petition. I have been sharing for the last few days, just because I feel that it has been so important for a collective voice to raise, to be raised in relation to having mental health supports in schools. I think that, and having art therapists in schools, I think that we are missing a huge opportunity. That's my feeling, is capturing youth mental health in schools via non-verbal engagement is just so important. My master's thesis was actually in a stability program for youth, that was all around the trauma-informed perspective. And what I found through that was individuals that have adverse early life experiences often miss the psychosocial stages of development. And so by the time they're in high school, that's like the psychosocial development of identity. And if we haven't yet figured out trust and all of the earlier stages, well, by the time we come to developing our identity, we may not get there as well. And what I found there was that art therapy is a way to help young people in schools to actually sit with themselves, develop their identity in a really safe way, so they can then go on to the next stages. But if that's not addressed, I do find that then the mental health system, when those individuals get into their 20s, is overburdened because we're not seeing that level of care.
Right. So you're a very strong advocate for the arts in therapies in schools.
I really am, and I was still teaching in schools while I was doing my master's, so I was still seeing a lot of the impacts of not having art therapies in schools while I was there. And I think people in schools are doing amazing jobs. I'm not saying that that schools are not addressing mental health at all. I just think that there are individuals that would really benefit from non-verbal engagement and some showing up of individuals that can really hold them in a creative manner.
So that sort of experiential approach to well-being.
Yeah. Having someone that's going to show up consistently and hear their stories, and maybe see their stories as well in a way that they're not used to. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow. I'm a big fan of seeing stories myself.
I love it. Seeing stories is my favourite.
Thank you so much, Pearl, for your time today. It's been an absolute delight listening to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Carla. It's just wonderful to get on board and get this really moving. I think I've been a bit too complacent, and I have needed this kind of little shake up to remind me what's really important and what we need to strive for as a profession.
Bravo.
Thank you so much.
See ya.